there, and welcome back to the sewing chapter. It's so great to have you back for another video about sewing. Today, I'm inviting you to join me as I sew button and buttonholes on a shirt for my husband. Before we get started, let me give you a brief overview of how we got to the place we are now. A brief history of sewing a shirt for my husband. First, I sewed him this shirt. He said it was too big, and he also says he doesn't like the fabric. Next, I sewed up this muslin, and I only completed one half of it. I did this to get the fit. I self-drafted this. This was practice. Next, I made this shirt. This was also practice, and it was self-drafted as well. It was going fine up until the collar stand and a collar. Finally, I downloaded a pattern from Helen's Closet. This pattern you see here, the Cameron button-up. And I made this shirt for my husband. He liked the fabric enough, I thought maybe it would be something he would actually like to wear, but he did not like the square in the middle. That happened to be how the fabrics joined. But he loved the fit, we got the fit right, and he loved the style just fine. So I knew we were on the right track. So today we're going to be sewing buttons and buttonholes on his perfect shirt. The shirt to rule all other shirts. Really happy we've reached this point. I'm excited to get these button and buttonholes on this top so I can give this to him. It'll be time to move on to the next project. So let's get started. Hey, if you're having fun watching this video, please go ahead and like it and also follow me so you can stay up to date on all the latest videos on the sewing chapter. Okay, so first let's talk about some things you are going to need to sew buttons and buttonholes onto your shirt. First of all, in this video I'm demoing a method that uses a sewing machine, so you're going to need your sewing machine to do this method. For sewing on the buttons using a machine, you're going to want to use a button foot, some kind of button holding in place foot. Mine looks like this, and that basically holds the button down like this and enables you to get into the holes right there and keeps it nice and secure in place. For sewing the buttonholes, you're going to need some kind of buttonhole foot, and this usually comes with your sewing machine, so look for a foot that looks like this. Of course, you're going to need some buttons. I've got a pack of wooden buttons here. You're going to need some kind of measuring device. I recommend using a clear ruler. This kind of ruler can also be really helpful, especially when measuring the buttons and buttonholes. You can mark the placement. You can mark the size of things. And I'm also using, in my case, a button and buttonhole guide that came with my pattern. So just ignore the zeros. We're looking at the 20 today because that is the size I made my husband. And so check your pattern. There might be a pattern piece that you cut out that will show you where to place your button and buttonholes. You're also going to want something to mark with. You're marking on your cloth, you're going to want it to be removable. So you can use this like a nice chalk, or you can use an erasable pen or a marker or whatever you have that will be able to be removed down the road. I highly recommend having some extra of your fabric that you're using as scrap so you can practice your buttonholes and buttons before installing them onto your actual project. It doesn't hurt to have a good seam ripper close by, have some little scissors, and some pins nearby. Of course, your machine is going to be loaded with the color thread that you're using. I can't think of anything else you'll need, so let's go ahead and get started. And first of all, it's helpful to know how big our buttons are that we're going to be sewing on. So it looks to me like it's about 1/2 inch based on the fact that it's sitting so perfectly inside the square, but let's double check at the 1/2 inch point. Yeah, it's about 1/2 inch. So we want our buttonhole to be at least a half inch to fit the button in really nicely. Now, if you're making a shirt for a man, traditionally, the buttons are going to be here on the left side and the holes are going to be here on the right side. And this shirt that I've set up for my husband, we're going to be doing it traditional style. So I'm going to be placing my buttonholes on the right side as far as what I'm looking at, looking down at the shirt, and the left side will have the buttons. I grabbed another one of my husband's shirts. He really likes what he likes, so I want to make it as close as I can to what he is used to. So I am going to use my ruler, and I am going to measure how far up his first buttonhole appears on the shirt of his. So the bottom of the first buttonhole is about 5.5 inches up. So I'm going to go ahead and measure 5.5 inches up on this shirt here and mark the bottom of what will be the bottom of the first buttonhole. So that's where we'll have our first buttonhole. Additionally, I'm going to go ahead and draw a line straight up the middle. So this is about 1 inch wide. So I'm going to mark a line all the way up 1/2 inch because I want to make sure I am in the middle with my placements. You could definitely eyeball this. I mean, as far as when you're putting your buttonholes on, but I'm just going to make it a little easier on myself and remove the second guessing and kind of mark a middle line here. Okay, now we said that our buttonhole needed to be about 1/2 inch. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this to be about 1/2 inch with my chalk right on that center and cap it off with a little line up here indicating the top of the buttonhole. Let's go ahead and go up the line. So I've decided to go with 3 1/4, which is what is on the button guide. We're going to stick with that. So 3 1/4 would be right there. Okay, I've marked the bottoms of the buttonholes each 3 1/4 apart. I'm going to go ahead and mark a 1/2 inch up and top off each of these. Okay, I'm going to take a moment and double check everything. Okay, I'm satisfied with that. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my buttonholes with this blue erasable marker. It just stays a little bit better than the white chalk. Now let's move on to marking the placement of the buttons. I'm going to use my ruler here. So I know I want my button to be right in the middle of this here, and I'm measuring from the bottom of the shirt in this case. And I've got about 5 7/8 here. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that on here. And I will be, again, drawing a line through the center of the placket. So let me do that. Okay, now we decided we were going to go to the center of this, and that was going to be about 5 7/8 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm measuring 5 7/8 inches up, and that puts me right here for my first button. Now double checking that because I want to make sure I'm being accurate. I'm going to line up the bottoms here exactly how they need to be lined up. I'm going to stick a pin through the middle, and I'm going to look. Am I pretty much smack dab in the middle? Very, very, very close. I think we're okay there. And I'm going to do something similar for the rest. So if that one's lined up there, we're going to go up to the next one. And here we are. I'm putting this smack dab in the middle right here. And we're going to go ahead and mark it right there. Okay, so got it lined up again, just double checking we haven't come undone. That looks very good. We're going to keep going up the line, and here is our next. I didn't do it like this last time, but I feel like this is going to help me be super duper accurate.
Next. And then we wind up at the top, pretty much.
All right, now if you open it up, you'll see all the little crosses. There we are. And let's double check. One more time. I'm all about double checking these days, especially on this shirt of my husband's, which I want to be nice for him. Okay, cool. All right, I'm not going to worry about this button that goes at the top here yet. I'm not sure he even wants one of those, but I'll deal with that later. Now that we've got our button and buttonholes marked, it's time to practice on some scrap fabric. So grab your scrap fabric, and you could interface this like your button stand probably is if you wanted to, or you could do what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna take a section of it and I'm gonna fold it over. It's accurate enough for my purposes. I'm just practicing getting the button and buttonhole right. So what I'm going to do is fold this in half. You could press it if you want to. I guess I'm just gonna hand press it here. I am going to cut this about in half here. And one half is gonna have buttonholes and one half is gonna have buttons. So we're gonna make 2 practice buttonholes. Gonna need a 1/2 inch line there. And do a 1/2 inch line up here. And then I'm going to have little bar tack symbols there and there. Okay, we've got 2 practice buttonhole set up there. And then on here, I'm not gonna line them both up. I'm just gonna sew one button in because I think once you see one done, that's pretty much what you need. I'm gonna go ahead and just do our cross here, and that's where we will sew our practice button. So I'm gonna take these pieces of cloth and head over to the sewing machine and practice sewing the button and buttonhole. You'll want to follow the rules for your particular machine. Most of the machines do buttonholes very similarly, and that's what we're gonna be starting with, our buttonhole. So you're going to want to remove the presser foot that you have on if it's not a buttonhole foot. So this one I'm taking to the side, and I'm going to grab my buttonhole foot. Now this buttonhole foot has a special place in it for the button, and that's how it knows what size buttonhole to sew. So I'm putting the button in there. I'm kind of getting it nice and secure, and I'm going to be putting this on. We want the button, like this target looking thing, is going to be up front. The button is going to be in the back. Slightly lifting up the little foot attachment. And there we go. Now I'm going to be pulling up the bobbin thread by pulling the hand wheel toward myself. And then I'm pulling, oh, I didn't get it. Oh no, it's down there. I'm going to grab some tweezers and grab it. Here we go. It's right here. I'm pulling it up, and we want both of these to be going out there. And I'm going to go ahead and thread this. It's very long. I think I might trim that just to get some out of the way. It's a lot. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and thread this through down here so that we can get it out of the way. Okay, and now we've got both threads kind of going that way toward the back. They're out of the way. All right, now what I'm going to do is, here's my screen, my LCD screen. And I want a basic buttonhole, and I have a shortcut here. I can go right to 104. 104 is my basic buttonhole. That's what I'm going to be sewing. So I've changed it over to that. Right now, it's got these settings here for the zigzag. It's got a 5mm zigzag and a 0.5mm stitch length. We're gonna do it at the default settings first and see how that goes. I'm going to take my little fabric. Now check your machine, check your manual, and see where it's going to be starting to sew your buttonholes. On my machine, I can look here, and at my manual, I can look at 104, and I can see that it's going to be starting at the top left-hand corner. So that's where how I want to line up my buttonhole markings. I want to go, we're going to do this one first. I'm going to put it in here. I'm lining this up so that those 3 little crosshairs are going to be having this top where that bar tack is going to be right so that it will start at that left-hand top corner. So I'm going to line that up. The next thing you must do is pull down a lever that looks something like this, and it has a little picture of a buttonhole. That has to be down. Now my machine told me it's ready to go because it has start. That's green, otherwise it would be red. So I'm going to go ahead and lightly, you don't want to hold this in place, like keep it from, the machine's going to be moving this around. You don't want to stop it from doing that, but I am going to lightly just kind of tenderly touch it, make sure it's, now it will do its thing. It's going to sew this buttonhole all by itself. All I have to do is keep pressing that foot pedal and keeping an eye on it in case it gets stuck. Sometimes they get stuck, it does happen, but hopefully it won't. And it will come to a stop when it's done. See? And so now I can cut, lift up my foot, and look at that beautiful buttonhole. I'm going to show you how to open it up in just a second. But before we do that, and we'll get back to that buttonhole, we're going to practice sewing the button using the sewing machine. The first thing I'm going to do is take off the foot attachment that is for the buttonhole. I was sewing these by hand, but I want more sturdiness on this project, and the last one I used the machine and it turned out great. They turned out so sturdy using the machine. So that's what I'm going to do. So this is my button sewing foot, and you want this to be holding the button down like this. So we need to put it in the machine like this, okay? The foot goes this way. All right, our button foot is in. Okay, so for sewing on a button, we have to do a couple things to the machine to get it ready. I need to lower my feed dogs. And so in this machine, I have to remove that little attachment there, and I need to slide this lever to the left. Your machine might be different, so check your manual, but that's what I need to do. Now I'm gonna reinstall this part of the machine here. And we need to set our stitch. Right now we're at stitch number 9. I need to be at stitch 13. So on my machine, my button setting is right there, setting 13. It even shows you the picture of the foot you need. So there we have it. Now it's time to line things up. I am going to put this button right where we made our cross and practice. So we want it to be situated so that I can go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, okay? So you don't want it, you want it so it's like this. All right. So I'm putting it in under the foot, and then what I'm going to do is put the foot down, and now I need to adjust. See, I'm turning the hand wheel toward myself. I need to put that back up. Turning the hand wheel toward myself. I'm going to see where the second stitch is going to end up, and we're going to see if it's going in the hole. Oh, it's going in the wrong hole. I need to situate things. I want it to go side by side to the hole that's to this right, to the right of it. Okay, let's try this again. We may need to adjust things a few times to get it perfect. Oh, now it's going into the wood. We don't want it in the wood. This is a pretty narrow. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm not gonna have to adjust it at all. With some buttons, you may need to adjust the zigzag length, and on my machine, I just do that by adjusting the length that's gonna be zigzagging, because this is essentially a zigzag, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But the machine is not using feed dog, so it's just gonna keep that button in place. Here we go. So we're gonna sew a good 10 stitches at the slow speed. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, and then I'm going to let that finish. I'm turning the hand wheel toward myself. And now, instead of cutting, using the little cut tool, I'm going to drag it out. Looks like something got, there we go. It's trying to finish a stitch. Okay, there we go. And now I'm going to cut now here. And what we would do at this point is to go ahead and turn it over. Can you see it? So when I tug on this here, it's loosening up some of these threads. And there is one that's looser than the other, and it's right here. Hopefully I got that right. Basically, I'm unpulling some of these threads that are at the front to the back. Okay, that one doesn't want to come. So we got one of them. That should be enough. So I'm going to use my fingers to tie together any loose threads I have at the back here, securing those stitches in place. I usually do 3 knots. And then I'm going to trim. On the front, I'm also going to trim. And trust that it's tied somewhere in the back. But see, if I pull on this, it's pretty secure. So, and now we're going to secure it even more, because we're going to be sewing back and forth on this other set of holes. Okay, I'm going to do what I did before, where I'm going to practice. Oops, my thread is about to go out of the needle. We're going to practice going side to side using the hand wheel. Okay, it's hitting the wood, so I'm going to adjust. Still hitting the wood. We don't want to break a needle. I'm going to test it out first with my hand turning the hand wheel. We're good. So here we go with the foot pedal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and stop. Okay. Cut, leaving plenty of thread tails because we have some tying to do on this side. So I'm gonna try pulling on the thread a little bit, see what comes up. And one of these represents your starting point and one of these represents your ending point. The starting point I would think gets pretty buried. But yeah, so now we've got 3 tails here. I'm gonna go ahead and take 2 of them in one hand, 1 in the other, and I'm gonna tie those 3 knots we talked about. And sometimes at this point I like to shorten the threads so it make it a little easier. And there we have it, a nice securely sewn button. Now it's time to take our practice pieces and do what we'll do with the real thing. And so what I do to open up buttonholes, I like to place a pin at the top there, and also I like to place one at the bottom, right across that bar tack area, okay? That's what I do. Then I take my seam ripper, and what I'm going to do is basically rip a hole from the bottom to the top, not going past the lovely pins, which are there to remind me and if needed to potentially stop me from ripping open the buttonhole. So I'm sticking the bottom of my seam ripper into the bottom there, and I'm just going to be gently, carefully, but firmly dragging it up and ripping a hole in this buttonhole. And now it is opened. Sometimes there's a couple little frayed pieces of fabric that you can clip off if needed. There we go. So we've got a buttonhole here, and now we're gonna see if this lovely button is going to fit inside the buttonhole nicely. Moment of truth. Ta-da! And there we have it. The button is inside the buttonhole. They're both firmly and nicely sewn, and we have practiced successfully. With my practice button and buttonhole completed, it is time for me to take my project, all marked up and ready to go, over to the sewing machine, sewing on the buttons and buttonholes, and I'll show you once it's all done. And here we are. The button and buttonholes are complete. It went very well because we practiced, and now I am ready, just about ready to present this shirt to my husband. It's ready for him. It's ready when he's ready. So it's the Cameron button up in this striated linen from Mood Fabrics. Really nice lightweight linen. I think this will be a great shirt for the summer. And in Florida, honestly, pretty much all year round, he can probably enjoy this shirt. So hopefully he loves it. Thank you for joining me on this journey of sewing buttons and buttonholes using the sewing machine. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, please go ahead and like this video and follow my YouTube channel for more great sewing content. Till next time, take care. Bye-bye.